Sponsored by MIBRS.
Welcome to No Holds Barred on SRB Radio, where we look at the beautiful game through the eyes of former Birmingham City, Notts County, Sheffield United, Watford, Walsall and Scotland international winger Paul Devlin. Sponsored by MIBRS and supporting the Jeff Astle Foundation. Dev, welcome to another one of your shows, mate.
All right, Gab, you okay?
Yeah, how's things?
All right, mate, not too bad.
First and foremostly, the most important thing, how's young Annie?
Yeah, she's okay. Obviously, been a traumatic few weeks to say the least. She's got a life-altering illness now with this Addison's disease, but we're getting on with it, mate.
Yeah.
We're trying our best.
Well, anything that you need from us, we're always there, and a phone call in the middle of the night if you need it. And I know that all
Cheers,
the
mate.
fans have been following you on Facebook.
Yeah.
Very, very supportive, because the Blues family are always
No,
there.
they've been great. You know, we've had a lot of well wishers and a lot of people asking how she's doing, and we appreciate it. And so does she.
Right, okay, let's get our teeth into the show. Before we go on to the Blues crisis, I did want to just touch on the Jeff Astle Foundation, because Dawn and the guys down there do an awful lot of great work. Something that the not the Football Association, but the Professional Footballers Association have put £100,000 into, yet their chairman and Supremo gets paid £700,000 as a bonus and tops up his salary to just over £2 million. It doesn't seem right.
No, when you look at the PFA chairman, I think it was 2.3 million. There was a lot of comments on social media about it, and the £100,000 to the Jeff Astle Foundation, where you look what the important work they're doing and what they're looking into, seems a bit disproportionate for me, to be honest. But any help that they can get in that way, I suppose is much appreciated. But 2.3 million seems a lot of money to me.
Now, I don't know nothing, because I wasn't a former professional football player, but you are. Briefly, what does the PFA do? And certainly when players have left the game, I'm guessing they need a little bit of support, or probably more support than when they're in the game. How do they support former players that have left?
I mean, they help with education and training. They give you a percentage of funding if you want to go and do different courses for life after football, basically. Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of players that suffer with depression and addiction. They try and help those as well. Players that, a lot of players come out the game, not crippled, but, from 10, 15 years of professional football, they need operation on knees, ankles, stuff like that. They're all there for that sort of thing. Now, I've only had a couple of dealings with them, to be honest, with regarding a little bit of training when I was learning to be a personal trainer and things like that to help with a percentage of funding for the courses. My only gripe is... looking from the outside, looking in, if you like, very, very quick to help. Gaza and people like that, very high profile. But I know lads further down the pyramid who've played in League One, League Two, who couldn't get a couple of grand for an operation. A very good pal of mine, Michael Johnson, did his cruciate playing for Birmingham City Old Boys. Really, really struggled to get any help. So. Although I'm not criticising that they're there and they provide a service, I do think that you'll probably find, if you look at lads who have had a 10, 15 year playing career further down the pyramid, help's not as readily available to them as it was if you've played for Arsenal or Spurs for 10 years.
And to be fair, that's where the help should come to the players that were down the pyramid.
Very much so, because, contrary to what everyone believes, 90% of players come out of the game needing to go and work and pay the bills. It's only the top boys who have played at the Premier all their life and earned millions and millions that really don't need to do anything. Most of us, myself included, need to work and pay the mortgage.
And some of the older players of the generation before, when the balls were harder and got laces in it, the likes of Jeff, sadly passed away, I think he was only 59, Jeff, when he passed away. Frank's got Alzheimer's. Stan Bowles has got
Chris
Alzheimer's.
Nichol,
There's an awful lot of it, and there needs to be a lot more research, and I'm sure that more than £100,000 going forward needs to be put from the PFA to the Astle Foundation.
I realise that being a professional footballer for 15 years, I was extremely fortunate, because most blokes would give the right hand to do it. But also, all joking apart, you put your body under a lot of strain. I go to golf days for the Blues Old Boys and different other clubs. Heroes of mine, Mick Harford, Tony Colton, they're hobbling around and they're having to have buggies and all that. So, 15 years as a pro, it takes its toll on your body, and you look at lads in the 40s and 50s that are struggling to get around, that have got aches and pains. You know, and I'm not saying everyone doesn't get aches and pains, but it does take its toll on you.
But again, it's those injuries, and not so much these days, because they are wrapped up in cotton wool, a lot of the players.
Yeah.
You know, the boots are like slippers, the pitches are like golf greens.
You know, you never see a muddy pitch now in the top two leagues. You're not allowed to get tackled, and you're not playing against people like Kenny Burns anymore, who's going to bash you up. So it's physically now, from a getting stuck in point of view, there's probably never been a better time to be a player. And
in them days, they used to have smaller squads, so there was a necessity, not only for, you know, the teams to keep winning, like famously when Villa won the league, I think they won it with about 14 players, didn't they?
Yeah.
But you win bonuses as well.
Yeah, that's it. You know, you wanted to play because you win bonuses and appearance money, probably doubled your wages. Yeah. So you wanted to, A, be in the team, and B, stay in the team. So if you got a little knock or you was slightly injured, you know, you didn't tell the manager, because you thought, if I get out the team here, I might not get back into it.
And you had that drug cortisone whacked into your body, and that wasn't good for you, was it?
No, you know, I've had it in my ribs, I've had it in my ankle, I've had it in my toes, and you know, you feel great straight away after. But long term, it doesn't do you any good. But you want to play.
Anyhow, talking about playing, Birmingham City crisis, they're not playing very well. What's gone wrong, Dev?
Oh God, where do you start? I mean, how far back do you want to trace it to? I mean, let's just touch on the current situation. Just looks a squad at the minute devoid of any confidence, any belief, any desire. Now, I know every one of them lads doesn't go out there with the idea not to try, because you don't as a footballer. But I just think you've got to show more. You've got to show a lot more passion and desire to put your body on the line, to try and do something, spark the game, thunderous tackle. We've talked about it before. You know, have the balls to get the ball, get on it, try and do something. At the moment, you know, I saw Steve Cottrell's interview and saying that we look frightened to death. I agree with him. Lads do look scared, but if you can't play at home in front of those fans and feel G'd up and ready to go to war, when can you play?
But have them players got it in themselves to be like that? I know it's one thing saying, you need to have balls, but if they're eunuchs, they ain't got them, are they?
Well, listen, if you look at our squad, there's no way on paper we should be anywhere near the bottom. I'm not saying we should be getting promoted. Shouldn't be anywhere near the bottom.
Mid-table, innit?
Yeah, minimum mid-table. But you don't play football on paper. Yeah. I don't know the lads personally. I know one or two. I know Robbo and Craig. You know. Yeah. But I think the characters that you're on about from yesteryear and years gone by, I question whether that squad's got any of them. No. They can all play. They're all good players. You know, most of them are good players in my opinion. But I don't think you can sort of coach that side of the game into them. You either are that way, like a Martin O'Connor, a Jeff Horsfield, a Grange, or someone like that, who's got that inbuilt desire. They say, we ain't getting beat today. You're not doing your job. You're not doing your job. You come here and you have it out in a changing room, and then you go out. I don't know whether there's any of that in that team. It doesn't look like it. Teams
are always only as good as A, the goals that you score, and B, your senior pros. They're the ones that give you that leadership. We A, haven't got goals in the team, and B, we haven't got senior pros that are leaders on the pitch.
The goals is not a new thing. Last season was the same, and I think come the end of this season it'll cost us an extra point, because I think we're the lowest scorers in the country, let alone the league, aren't we? And I do feel sorry for the forwards, because they don't get a lot of service. They don't get a lot of chances. It's a thankless task. I mean, to be honest with you, Gallagher, first half of the season I thought he was completely out of his depth, but he's turned it round in my opinion, and he's done well the second half of the season with what he's had to work with. Adams, you know, sticking him out left, there and everywhere. To me, I'd play Adams and Gallagher down the middle. Obviously, unfortunate with Vassell, because he was looking very lively and dangerous, but he's out the picture now. I just think we've got to simplify it, play two lads up front, especially at home, and get after teams, especially Barnsley.
So the thing is, when you score goals, most of the goals are scored in the box. If you ain't got players in the box, the only way you're going to score goals is from outside the box. When you're nervous and you don't want to shoot, you've almost got no chance of scoring a bloody goal.
No, but if you're not getting balls in the box and you're not getting bodies in the box, you're not going to score in the box. That's why, to me, I would, especially at home, because the Championships, everyone's such of a size, similar level, really. You know, Wolves, good team. Burton towards the bottom of the league, but there's not massive amounts of difference between the rest of the team. So it's not as if you're going to say, well, we'll have to play extra player at the back because they've got this player, that player. Now, to me, I'd go 4-4-2. Yeah. I'd simplify it. I'd go a little bit more direct, and I'd say, right, I want 2 forwards up front. Let's get wingers get into the byline, cross it in, get balls in the box. If you're crossing it from the right, get the left winger in. Put teams under a little bit of pressure. The game on Saturday, we never got Barnsley on the back foot. So we could never establish our dominance in the game because the problem is now it's easy to come and play at St Andrews. Easy to come. Whereas in years gone by, think, God, they're going to get after us here. Yeah. The players are going to get after us. The fans are going to get on our back. People enjoy coming to St Andrews now and playing because they know they can get a result.
And they're all nice players, aren't they? There's no horrible bastards like you.
No.
Granger, Martin O'Connor, and the Horse.
We've spoke about it before, and Horse has mentioned it. Speak to Dicey's mentioned it. You've got to get after people at times, and if that means upsetting some of your teammates for an hour on the pitch, then you do it. If it means having a little bit of a scrap at half time or after the game, you do it because you're doing it for the greater good, because you don't want to lose football matches. But I don't know how much of that goes on.
Now the manager, I've said many times on these shows and on Facebook as well, and to your friends when you're in the pubs and stuff and whatever. He talks in riddles. I mean, he wouldn't motivate me to get out of bed.
Yeah, I don't think he's helped himself. No. I mean, I will stand up for him slightly, saying he's inherited that squad of players. He's came into the club at a really, really low ebb. But to me, then, on the flip side of that, from the outside looking in, I think team selections, I think substitutions, and definitely some of his interviews haven't helped him. So I think although he has, he's obviously got problems there, the league position tells you that, I don't think he's helped himself.
But in terms of inheriting players, and to a certain not to a certain degree, there isn't a manager that's ever managed that hasn't inherited players. Gary Rowett inherited a team that had got spanked by 8 at home to Bournemouth. He instantly turned it around. I think Wolves was our first game, then we drew 0-0 away, didn't we? And Rowett got a tune out of very, very average players. You could argue some of these players are better than the players that Rowett inherited, but he doesn't seem to be getting tunes out of players. My personal opinion, I think the players look at him and think, twat. I honestly do.
You may be right, you don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask the players about it, which they're never going to tell you, by the way. No. But I just see, obviously, Gary came in, he did extremely well. In fact, now you look a year, 18 months down the line, it actually looks what he did better. When you look at what's gone on since, but he did come in with a small squad with nothing really to spend and limited resources to bring players in. So you've got to make do with what you've got. I think at times here now we've got quite a big squad when everyone's fit, and it's almost what is the best? Who is the best player? Sometimes he's got maybe have too much to choose from, and I don't know. I'm trying to think of excuses what I can give to him to say, well, why has he done that? Why has he done that? But ultimately. Listen, when you go on that pitch, you can have Mourinho, Guardiola sitting on the sideline or whatever. You've got to take a little bit of responsibility as a player. If you're picked in that team to go out, you've got to show more than what they're showing at the minute.
And especially when you're in a relegation battle, to go away to, for instance, Brentford, as they did, and get absolutely whacked. I mean, that almost in itself is a sackable result, isn't it? You look at some results and you go, do you know what? I don't see how he can get up in the morning, do his job, still be Birmingham City's manager.
Well, 5-0 obviously a thumping. I didn't go to the Brentford game.
It could have been 12,
apparently. Well, Brentford ain't bad at home.
No, they're decent.
But really, you say Brentford are good at home, punching above the weight for the size of the club. Should we really be going there and getting beat 5-0?
No, not when we nick their best players.
Birmingham City, and Villa have nicked another couple of the best players. Yeah. So, where are they getting all these players where they're losing their best players on a seasonally basis, and they're still doing better than us? And how are they doing that?
But this is where it comes down to recruitment and getting good management and a good team of coaches as well. And in Dean Smith, they got a great coach and manager from Walsall, and like you say, he's lost a lot of players. He ain't moaned about it because he knows that's his job at a club like Brentford. He's got on with it, he's produced other players, and they're as good now, or probably better now, than when Dean Smith took over, and he must have lost half a dozen of his best players.
Well, we need to ask him how he does it, don't we?
Exactly, or get him down at Birmingham. And I think that's a problem there for me. This manager is out of his depth. I think he talks in riddles, and I think he's an idiot, and I just don't think he's getting anything. And I think if they keep on with Steve Cottrell, I honestly think Blues will get relegated, because I just don't I can't see where the next 3 points are coming from.
Well, looking at the game and the body language, and obviously, you know, seeing interviews after the game on Saturday, I'd be inclined to agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, at the start of the week, when a week, 10 days ago, I'm thinking, well, Millwall and Barnsley at home, got to be getting 6 points here. Now, that's no disrespect,
or at least 4.
Yeah, that's no disrespect to Millwall or Barnsley. But to come away with none, but you know, Brentford away is a tough game.
Yeah, it is.
So you know, you take a defeat, you don't take a 5-0. But then you look and you think we've got to win the 2 home games. Now, I still think we're good enough to get out of it. But I've been saying this for weeks and weeks. Ultimately, what happens, you run out of games, you run out of time, and the league at the end of the season doesn't lie. So I am really worried now, worried, because I'm not seeing signs that we're going to fight to get out of it.
But you see, I'm also seeing other teams round the relegation zone scoring goals. I mean, even Sunderland scored 3 against Borough. Last Saturday. Burton had an away win at Ipswich the other week. You know, they're getting results. Birmingham are the one team that really are getting no results and are not looking like scoring a goal.
Well, we look negative. To me, we look a lot of the time as if we set up not to get beat, rather than to go and win the game. And then when we concede a goal, it's just heads down, looking at your little bit of space. You think, well, God, we struggle to score 1 goal, so how are we going to get 2 to get back into it now? You know, I know we had the couple of weeks in a row where we scored 3 and 3, Sunderland and Wednesday. You know, although the Wednesday keeper threw 2 of them in. We just, you know, if we go 1-0 down, you just think, well, it's game over.
And the next 3 games, Forest away, 5 up at QPR, down at QPR. Then we got Borough, who were just off the playoffs. And who's the third game then? Chris, who's the third game? I'd got it in my head. It will come to me shortly. Oh, it's Cardiff away. Your old mate Neil Warner.
Well,
I mean, they're going to get nothing there with
Warner.
Warner.
It's difficult ever in the Championship to pick a run of easy games, but you've just reeled off, you know, 4 or 5 really tough games. And you know, let's be honest, most of them are really tough. And you know, you're probably never going to get not an easier, but a better run of 3 games of Millwall, Brentford, Barnsley. You know, you'd be looking at them, you'd be positive looking at that. And again, that's no disrespect to those 3 clubs. But you'd be more hopeful going into those 3 games and the 3 next games that you've just singled out there. So it's going to be difficult, really difficult.
And the game before, of course, Aston Villa. Certainly that second half performance was absolutely pathetic. And I've got to say, one of the worst Birmingham performances I've ever seen against Villa. Given the fact it is the Villa, it is away, you know what you're going to get there. Brucey's turned them around. They got arguably one of the best midfield players in the Championship, in Grealish, who absolutely run the show. I was just amazed how lacklustre, how pathetic, how spineless that performance was.
Well, I watched first half, and it wasn't a great first half, but I'm thinking, well, you take 0-0 at Villa Park away. And like you rightly say, the second half, I mean, Grealish is a good player, no 2 ways about that, but it was that easy for him. You know, he just done what he wanted.
It's a stroll, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was easy. And I look and you hit the nail on the head with what you said, lacklustre. There was just not. You think you're playing Villa at Villa Park. Get in amongst them. Show that you want to win the game. I mean, to me, Endoro, he's been a big disappointment for me. You want it. You don't want him on the ball, do you?
I don't want him anywhere near.
No, you don't want him anywhere near the ball at the moment. What he has got, he's big, he's physical, he's a presence. To me, in that game, you'd say, right, don't let Grealish play. Just go and mark him, kick him out the game, do whatever you need to do. Don't worry about getting on the ball, because you're actually not that good on the ball anyway. But there didn't seem to be any of that. Telling him to do that. And in the end, it was. Let's be honest, it was a really, really comfortable day for the Villa. And Villa Blues, one thing that neither team should have is a comfortable day.
I mean, it was third gear, wasn't it, Villa were playing?
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
Grealish,
easy for him.
every time the ball was in an area, Grealish was not far away to receive it, side on, pass it out, receive it again, and make the play.
Well,
we ain't got them players.
I don't think Villa will ever have an easier half of football
No.
than they did in that second half. No. And it was dead comfortable for them, which is, is criminal, really, from a Blues fan.
All right, Chris, yep.
I'll just cherry pick a few questions because there is a lot.
Go on.
Cottrell has to go, boys. He's out of his depth. He has no plan A or no plan B. Do you feel Cottrell is failing to lift the players' confidence? Well, boy, you know that. We've got no leaders on the pitch, says Gary. There's a lot about Cottrell's press conferences as well, being negative. Evening from Down Under, says Richard Baker. He was playing some left wing at the start of the season, says Mike Hansen. And there's quite a few more. Need to start again, board and all.
I think they do. I mean, it isn't, again, it's not just the manager. Although I think if I got the choice right now of Lee Clark or Cottrell, I think I'd plumb for Lee Clark. And I thought Lee Clark was the worst manager I've ever seen.
No, I don't think I would. I don't think I'd get that far. I mean, just touching on.
Yeah.
But I mean, the board, I'll be honest with you, as a player, the board makes... The cold hard fact is, if you're getting paid, you don't care who's in charge.
That's true. Yeah.
If your wages are there on time and how much and when it should be, you don't care. So all the thing about the board and all that doesn't affect one player 1%. So you can't mention the board, regardless of what your thoughts are on the board. And let's be honest, they've put their hand in the pocket this season. They've paid money, they're paying big wages. So, take that one out of the equation, because that doesn't matter to a player. The press conferences, I agree with you. Comes across very dour, and you think to yourself, well, how are you going to motivate people? I touched on it earlier on, formations, where he's played people out of position, all things that have been touched on there. These are the things that I mentioned 10, 15 minutes ago, where I think he hasn't helped himself in the slightest.
But like when I look at the board, I'm on about, you've got people that actually run the football club, who are the board of directors. They own the football club. They then employ people to run the football club. And from top down, not particularly from bottom up, but top down, it's rotten. You've got people who own the football club, who run the football club, that don't know what they're doing. And it's all about recruitment. And I think you've got to get it right. It's like you've alluded to, we need to get it right with the next manager, if, Cottrell does go. But do you trust these idiots that are making decisions to recruit the next manager? There should be people like you, Dev, like the Horse, like Jono, like former pros that have played at Birmingham City, that know what football's about, what it takes to get... Because, we could have a debate here, and I'd say to you, how about so-and-so being... No, Gabby's an idiot. I wouldn't have him. Know what the game's all about. And we just don't seem to... If you keep employing the wrong person, surely you must look at yourself and think, I'm an idiot. And that's what's going on at Birmingham. We keep repeating the same problems.
Yeah, I mean, first I will say there is a lot of good people that work at the club. There's a lot of good people in the offices and different departments that you never hear of. But there are a lot of good people work at the club, regardless of what you think of the people at the top level. They're getting... It appears like they're getting the recruitment of the management side of it wrong. The last 3 appointments will speak for itself and tell you that up till this moment in time. I mean, the problem isn't, we discussed it off air, you've got a lot of ex-players and a lot of knowledge out there who are at a certain level. Now, the people at the very top level, and this is probably the same of every club, the board, chair, they never get to speak to or very rarely do the ex-players and get to speak to that level. But then you'll have other people, other directors, friends of directors and all that, and you get sort of this layer in between the top level and the ex-players, and they, we'll do this, we can advise you on this, we do this, do that. And that's how it appears to me that it seems to work at clubs. And ultimately, if you keep getting it wrong, you're going to be in the position we're in. And it could be worse, let's be honest. It could be worse at the end of the season.
But again, off the pitch and on the pitch, it's all relative, isn't it? You know, you've got your goalkeeper, you've got your defence, you've got your midfield, you've got your forwards. Everything needs to be connected. There needs to be that go-between. Same off the pitch. You need to have a club that's working together and gelling together.
Yeah.
So you might have a great catering manager, you might have a brilliant commercial manager, you might have a great bars manager, you might have brilliant people running departments of the football club, but the most important people there at the club are the ones that's running it in a football sense, because without that first team playing well and doing well on the pitch, you can forget everything else, and it just isn't working. I mean, for argument's sake, say they got rid of Cottrell tomorrow, who would they employ? Who would want to come to Birmingham with the position that the club's in? I don't think they're going to go top down. I think in terms of recruitment, they're going to have to go like bottom up and hope that there's a rising young manager that wants the job.
I mean, let's be honest, Birmingham's a big club.
Massive.
Think you'd have loads of applications for the job. Like you say, you're not going to get top managers want it. You know, some of the more experienced managers who have done well at championship level might look at it and go, well, it's not quite right there at the minute. That might not be for us. But you're still going to have a lot of managers want this job. It's a great job, great club, big club, and managers would want the job. Now, to me, I think there's a managerial merry-go-round, and I look at some of the Facebook pages, and it appears sometimes we just throw names in. Yeah. Oh, we'll have Gary Monk, we'll have a Lou Cisse, we'll have this, we'll have that, without any really thought behind. Well, why? Yeah. Why? I would much rather see, and I'm not just on about Blues, I'm on about other clubs. Think outside the box a little bit. Look at people like what Sheffield United done with Chris Wilder, who was at Oxford or Northampton. You look at the likes of Gareth Ainsworth, who's at Wickham. Yeah. Mark Robbins, who's at... Go and get a young, hungrier manager. Yeah. How do they get experience? Somebody has to give them experience. Or someone's got no experience at this level. No, I'm not saying I've got the answer. I'm not saying give it those lads who I've just mentioned. But, you know, look at the Albion, Pardew and David Moyes. All the same managerial merry-go. Sometimes you've got to be brave enough to step off that. And by the way, did you see Chris Wilder's interview after the Sheffield United... who did they play last game?
Played Hull.
He
looked good, Dicko.
Well, he's came on. Yeah. Brutally honest. Brutally honest. No, I keep saying we're a good team. We ain't a good team. You couldn't have had a more honest interview about his team. He didn't try and disguise the fact they were poor. He told everyone his team was rubbish on that particular game. And it was refreshing to see a manager actually come out and say, no, they were crap today. And I'm going to tell everyone you were crap today. Brilliant. Brilliant. I don't think we see that enough.
No, I think honesty in football is something that is sadly lacking. Yeah. But I think that when you do it is refreshing. Yeah. But I think you're right. I think we need to look at a decent young manager and managers that have done it in a couple of clubs. Yeah. You know, not just the one, not been here for 5 minutes, done it in a couple of clubs and are looking for the next progression. I think Dean Smith would be a great choice. Well,
you look what he did at Walsall and what he's done at Brentford. Yeah. You know, he's done absolutely fantastic.
And getting them to play football as well, Dev. We need football players on the pitch.
Well, you know, it's been really negative at times. Yeah. And I can go back under McLeish and Bruce as well, where at spells where it's been negative. Ultimately, the way I look at football, you want to go down. You know, as a Blues fan, God, we've seen times worse than this. Yeah, you're not going to go down and see brilliant football and win 3-0 every week. But you want to go down and be entertained. Yeah. You know, most Saturdays you want to see your team try and win a game. Yeah. You want to see a few characters out there who are going to get stuck in. You want to see a bit of controversy now and again. You want to see all these things because that's all your talking points in the pub after on a Saturday. You don't want to go down there and sit like this for an hour and a half and have one attempt off target or have lost 1-0 again. Nothing worse than that.
But you think, you know, in a general sense, football is lacking the characters today. Is lacking the entertainers today, and football isn't as exciting as it used to be, or is it just that we're growing older and we're more curmudgeon?
I think it's twofold. You know, I think we all look at it through rose-tinted glasses. We all think our particular area that we grew up on is the best, but I do think it's sanitised now. With you know, you got players talking like that, so they can't. You know, what's all that about? Nobody wants to say anything controversial in interviews. everyone's, with regards lads, when they're out, there's camera phones, social media. So the lads ain't got to move on the board, but the characters aren't there. The characters, there's no two ways about it. I'm not saying there's not fantastic footballers out there. There is, but is it a little bit more boring and a little bit too vanilla than how I remember it as a kid? Yeah, without a doubt.
I think it definitely, certainly is from me when I grew up watching football. I got taken down Birmingham when I was, about 7?
Yeah.
In the early 70s. We're never going to win nothing.
Yeah.
I think the furthest we pretty much got was the Cup semi-final, 72 and 75.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously I do the club ambassador stuff on a match day for Blues, and I took Malcolm Page round.
How was he?
Malcolm's brilliant.
Yeah.
Malcolm was in great form. Gentleman Malcolm. Captained his country, captained Blues. Up until Stan Lazaridis, he was Blues' most capped player. So, I was talking to him about sort of the golden era, really. I think everyone will agree that can remember probably this, mid to late 70s, whatever. We've had the best players then. With regards to Trevor and Bob Hatton and Burns and Latchford, and he was telling some great stories, and he says, take Bob Latchford for instance. He said the defenders especially, Bob, come back, track back, do this. He said, and you'd moan, Bob, why ain't you track? He said, but you look at the end of the season and he scored you 35 goals. Yeah. He said, so you'd think, well, actually, do we really want Bob tracking back and running his arse off and tackling? He scored us 35 goals. He said, so you have to take players plus points and minus points into consideration. But he said, he looked, and he touched on the team now. He said, who's going to get us 15 goals? Who's going to get us 25? Now, obviously, a little bit unfair to the lads now to compare them with the likes of Latchford and Trevor and people like that. But we just, that makes you realise how far away we are from having those sort of players and that sort of team.
It is sad. My first game, 15th of August 72, Blues beat Newcastle 3-2.
Yeah.
Bob Latchford had 3 second half goals disallowed.
Yeah.
But it just seemed that when you went onto the pitch in the 70s, you had this, we're going to win. You might not have won all the time, because Birmingham never did, and we've never done that. But you had the belief that you were going to be entertained, you were going to be excited, and you'd see great players from the opposition come out, play football, and football was enjoyable. Yeah. I watched Man United, Chelsea Sunday. Super Sunday. I thought it was shocking. Yeah. I thought it was an awful game. I quite like Willian. I thought he had a decent game. I like Hazard. But apart from that, I thought United hadn't got much. Yeah. Chelsea hadn't got much. And then I watched the cup final. That was dead after Aguero scored the goal. How bad are Arsenal?
Yeah,
we got problems.
Yeah, for a lot of the games are boring now. There's no two ways about that. Because everyone's frightened to death, especially at the top level.
Losing.
They're frightened to death of getting beat. Yeah. So rather than go out and try and win the game, it's like, be solid first and foremost, see if we can nick a game. But just touching on when 72, I remember when I was, first go down in the early 80s, and you got Mark Dennis and Mick Half, and really good players. Yeah. But you knew at some stage Mick was going to clatter someone, and Mark Dennis was going to go through the winger. So you knew that was going to happen. You was almost looking forward to that as you was to getting the goal, because it was something like that might spark a little bit of a revival, or get everyone going, get the crowd on the edge of the seats, and bit of a fracas in the middle, and disrupt the other team. Used to look forward to that. But who brings that to the table now? Not just at Blues, in a lot of times.
No, I think generally they don't. We're going to be starting doing next week. We're doing a show with Alan Hudson.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And you're like, what a player he was. Nicknamed the George Best of the South by the London Press. And have some great stories of George Best and Stan Bowles and the golden era. When you look at the 70s, it is amazing how England never qualified for a World Cup final with all of the players that we had.
Yeah, they had some fantastic,
but shit managers.
Hudson, Tony Curry, Worthington, people like that. But they were all mavericks, weren't they?
Yeah, but awful management that didn't know how to manage them.
You needed to find a manager that could somehow get them in the team or the squad. Yeah. That might have been a good night out with all them, I tell you. But I think the only man who could have probably got characters like that to play together never got the job, and that was Clough. Do you ever foresee a Clough type ever getting an England job now? It's always going to be a Southgate, a Hodgson, an FA man.
But again, do you think that's what's fundamentally wrong with the game as well? That no matter who we seem to have as the manager, whether it be at club or international level, they've got the clipboard out, they've got all the coaching badges, and they bore the arse off us. We want to be entertained, as you say. Gareth, I mean, lovely guy, Gareth.
Right,
You probably love your daughter to get him, marry someone like Gareth. But I mean, he just comes across as a boring bastard, don't he?
FA man, typical FA man.
Yeah.
But I don't think England, produce the players now at world level. Produce some great players, Harry Kane, people like that. At world level, I never foresee it in my lifetime.
But why
England
don't we,
winning.
Dev? I mean, you're doing stuff, with young kids now. The young kids are about, aren't they? What goes wrong?
We've neglected the bottom level now, the grassroots level, for 20 years.
Yeah.
And that's affecting the top level because everything filters up.
Yeah.
The investment in grassroots football, school football, facilities, everything has been neglected for 20 years. That's why we don't produce. It's all right saying, they come through. The young players don't come through anywhere near as good as they did years ago. And a lot of them are robots. 6'1", box to box, great athletes. How many times we that he's a great athlete and he's this and he's that. I just think we've neglected grassroots football for that long. We're reaping what we've sown now.
I must admit, when I used to manage, when my kids were young, I used to manage at Marston Green and at Smith's Wood, and I used to give all the players a ball, and it was all about ball work and football. I remember it was a scout at Crewe, fully enough, and he says, what are your players like? I said, technically, I think I've got some great players. I used to play 5 up front. We'd win 7-4, or we'd probably get beat 5-0, but we'd roll our sleeves up and we'd have a game. My idea of football is getting it forward, pass the ball, shoot and score goals. That's what I love. And he says, you got any big kids?
Yeah.
And I says, no, they're all pretty small. He says, well, you got no athletic boys?
Yeah.
I says, mate, I'm running a football team, not an athletic squad. He said, well, I said, look, I suggest you don't even waste your mileage and attend.
You look at, and you speak to people in academies, and it's like, no, we don't. That's not us anymore. That's not us. And they do.
Yeah.
But you look at the 15 and 16-year-old kids. They're all up, dormant.
Yeah.
My lad was 4 years at the Blues, and one of them. I'm not saying they should have kept him on.
Yeah.
He probably did. He didn't do enough to get kept on.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons, we look at how small he is, look at his size and all that. And I think in this day and age, and that won't just be Blues, that'll be other clubs as well.
Yeah.
We still do look how big the kids are. Other countries don't bother. Other countries, if they got a kid at 15 who's small, they'll play him down a couple of years. So physically he's playing it. Now in this country, we tend to look at that as a bit of an insult.
Yeah.
They'd rather, my kid's playing up a year, or he's playing up 2 years. But to me, you do whatever helps the kids develop, whether that's playing them down, playing them up, playing them in the same age group. But we are still not obsessed, but people want 6-footers who can do the 100 metres in 10 seconds. And they'll tell you they don't, but they're telling you lies.
So there's nothing really fundamentally that's going to change in the game. We're just going to it's going to go up and up and up in terms of money and the Sky money that's coming in. We're going to want to produce bigger and fitter players, and we're just going to go further down in on the world stage because we don't produce enough technicians.
And don't forget as well, English players that break into. They're on about. See on Man U, McTominay, the kid that's played. Has he played 10 games yet for Man U? They're saying who should
probably not.
Who should he pick internationally? Yeah. Scotland or England? He hasn't played 20 games, and he's going to throw. I'm going to play. You know what I mean? The British-based players, especially at the top level, who have one good season, get a massive contract. Berahino, perfect example.
Yeah.
Have a good season at the Albion, get a big deal at the Albion, be a non-trier, get a move to Stoke. Be a non-trier, multi-millionaire. Where's the hunger gone? And I think the players in other countries, in Germany, in France, they don't get the mega dough at 18, 19, 20 like our players do. And that's why they remain hungrier for longer. Because our players get it all too soon. Berahino, great, multi-millionaire, probably never have to do a day's work.
Yeah.
The kid's sitting in there absolutely wasting his career.
But again, that's the thing. He thinks he's doing all right. And financially, he is.
Yeah.
But, you've probably got 10 years at the top, ain't you? At that top level.
The PFA did some studies, and they say, taking everyone who's been a pro, 7.5 years is an average career.
So you look at Berahino and you go, when he's finished, what do you do, son? How many games did you play? And you go, What, you played 250 games and you played for
Yeah.
like 15 seasons?
Yeah.
How'd you work that out? Oh, you went on strike, didn't you? I remember you were on that jet, weren't you, when you was taking the piss
Yeah.
with the Albion and you didn't want it, and then you went to Stoke.
You got blokes working all week, doing 40, 50, 60 hours in factories to
Yeah.
go and watch the Albion, and he's picturing himself on a private
Yeah,
jet
exactly.
because he's got his arse in his hands.
Yeah.
And then he wonders why he gets stick.
Yeah.
Now, to me, he encapsulates everything that's wrong with a modern day
Yeah.
player.
And Delph was another one that done that, didn't he? When he left the Villa, he was going to Man City, then he was going to stay at the Villa, then he eventually left.
Listen, when you're 45, 50, whatever, you
Yeah.
want to look back and say, oh, I've done 400 games there.
There's me medals.
I played in that game.
Yeah.
I played in that game.
Yeah.
And remember that game? Remember the game at Villa Park when I'm sitting in the Fox in Warmley having a pint with Jeff Horsfield? Remember the game at Villa Park Horse where remember the game at Enkelman and all that? What's he going to say? Oh, do you remember that time I was training and I watched the game on telly, but I'm driving around in my Rolls Royce? It's... To me, I wanted to play. Every club I went at, if I felt I wasn't going to get in the team, and it only really happened at Blues when I left Blues. And Brucey says, listen, I want you to stay. 2 years left on my contract, but you're not going to be a regular.
How old was you at that time?
I was about 30, 31.
So it was vital for you to play.
Wanted to play.
At that time.
Listen,
as well.
I could have stopped and had another 2 years. And as it goes, I remember at the time, Brian Hughes was even further down the pecking order than I was. He ended up playing another 100-odd games for Blues.
Yeah.
So I could have stopped there for 2 years maybe and play another 100 games. But I was 30 going on 31. I wanted to play. I didn't want to look back at 35 and say, well, I spent 3 years on the bench there.
Yeah.
More than enough players are happy to do that. I was never happy to do that, so I went to Watford and played another 100 games.
I think that must be seriously one of the saddest things that you can be as a professional footballer. Remembering them games you sat on the bench watching.
Well, it was funny because me and Horse often have a laugh and a joke about it. We were a nightmare, especially with Brucey. If we weren't playing, why not playing? You'd have a row, and it must be a nightmare for him. But then he'd have people like Olivia Tebley, great lad.
Yeah.
But Tebs, I'll sign a new contract. Not bothered whether I play. And he'll sit on the bench.
Yeah.
Manager's dream, because you've got him there and he'll do okay when you bring him on. He's not going to be banging your door down asking why he ain't playing. And I think the foreign players have got a different attitude with that side of it, whereas the British-based players, Martin O'Connor, we want to play. Yeah. When you be banging and being a nightmare to the manager, being arsey in training, kicking a few in training because you were out of the team. So I do see it from a manager's point of view, but it always used to seem to be, to me, those players that were a bit more laid back and wouldn't put pressure on the managers, they seem to get contract after contract. So I have to laugh at it sometimes. And Tebs was a great lad, to be fair.
Would you ever fancy going into management? And how would you deal with Paul Devlin and Jeff Horsfield?
I wouldn't sign them. I'd avoid them like a barge pole.
But you'd sign Tebs?
Oh, no, listen, looking back now, I mean, I've said it to a couple of ex-managers, and you don't see it. I must have been a nightmare at times, an absolute nightmare. I like to think that come Saturday that you could depend on me, though.
Yeah.
I might not always play well, but one thing I'd always do, I'd always give my best. And I think I had 12, 13 managers, whatever. I think they'll all tell you I was a pain in the arse at times, and I was a handful at times, but ultimately I always tried my best for them. But yeah, it'd be difficult. I'd love, now, I'm 46 nearly now. I'd love a crack at management. What I didn't do, and I should have done, was get my badges while I was playing. I haven't got these all-important badges, which magically make you a fantastic coach and manager. So to get them would probably be a 3 or 4 year process. Have I really got the time or the inclination to do that? I don't know. I'd model myself on a little bit of everyone. Two best managers I played for, Steve Bruce and Neil Warnock. Yeah. The two things that they had in common: really good man managers. Really good man managers. They knew the players that they need to get round the throat. They knew the players that they'd have to sort of kid gloves and tell them how brilliant they were with regard days off and when to train, when not to train. Warnock was brilliant with the older lads. When at Sheffield we had a lot of older lads. He was, especially if you'd done well. Yeah. You'd done well, you'd want say to me and Ned and Pesh, lads, you're going to have a game of tennis on Monday. And we'll get the younger lads in and all. It was his way of giving the older lads a little bit of a time off. But then, and the flip side of that, when I played under Aidy Boothroyd when I was sort of 32, 33 at Watford, he went the other way. Yeah. And Aidy was good. I really liked Aidy, but you'd never get a day off. And if you're an older lad, he'd have you in doing more, but different type of stuff. Go in the pool one day instead of going out running with the other lads. So I try and bring a little bit of all the managers that I played under and adapt it. I wouldn't sugarcoat it to any of them. I like the way Chris Wilder is. Yeah. Sometimes, as a manager, you know you're going to get the sack. You know you're going to get the sack at some stage. So what I would do sometimes, I wouldn't come out. Obviously, you protect your players and you keep things in house, but I wouldn't tell lies for them. So no, I thought they were great today when I didn't think they had. Sometimes you got to let the players shoulder a little bit of responsibility as well, because they ain't going to get the sack. The manager's going to get the sack.
I could imagine Warnock saying to you, here's a few, Bob. Go uptown, have a few drinks, make sure you don't drive, get a taxi home.
Yeah, I mean, and Bruce liked to burn. They were all good with stuff, as long as you didn't take the mick. Yeah. Which I did. I did at times, and a few of my mates did. But then you paid the price for that. You either got it in the pocket, or you didn't play, or he ran you till you spewed up. So we all done it. I mean, Bruce's favourite saying was, "You can't kid a kidder." Yeah. And wonder, where was you? Was you out yesterday? No, I was all right. It was okay. He's trying to get back so he can't smell your breath. Little things like that. You laugh about it now, but we never did nothing that Brucey never done or Warnock never done. I mean, you'll probably find now players in general are as well behaved now as they've ever been in the history of football. And because it's that high profile, when one or two do something daft, it's all over the papers. But you imagine if they had camera phones and that in the 70s and 80s, and even the start of my career, it's being Winston Green.
I think though in the 70s, if they did have camera phones, and the likes of your Bests and your Hudsons and your Worthingtons and Bowles and all them players were out on the pitch doing what they were doing, fans would just go, fair play to them.
Yeah,
good on them. That's what we expect from them players, because that's where they were characters like that. You'd almost be amazed if George Best was sober all the time and wasn't getting up to his antics and stuff. It was part of what made him the player that he was. Yeah. So as long as they're doing it on the pitch, you really don't give a shit what they're doing off the pitch, do you?
That's where Warnock and Brucey were really good as well. Yeah. They'd forgive you a little shortcoming, and we've all got shortcomings, whether it be maybe go out a little bit too often, or maybe get sent off or booked a little bit too often, or maybe not the best trainer, or bit of a moaner, bit of a pain in the all the things I always rule. But they'd forgive you if you'd done it on a Saturday. Yeah. You can get away, as a player, you can get away with most things if you're doing the business. Yeah. If you're not doing the business, you can't get away with nothing.
Albion players, going back to taking a taxi home, what did you make of that? I mean, and the players that were involved, did it shock you when you heard it?
It did shock me. It did shock me. It shocked me even more when they said there were 5 o'clock in the McDonald's and they hadn't had a drink. I mean, come on. 5 o'clock in the morning, McDonald's, and you rob a taxi. Listen, as I say, that it's a daft thing. Most ex-pros would have just laughed about that. Yeah. And I know some people, it's disgusting, this and that. And it isn't right, but I've done far worse. Players and teams.
What was the worst thing you've ever done, Dave?
I can't tell you on here. I could write you a list down of an A4 paper. I remember, Jeff Astle Foundation. I remember we'd been out sometime, I won't tell you where, but Alex Ferguson was sitting in the corner talking. Yeah. And there was 2 people. It was Mottram Hall. And then he was sitting over there, I think, talking to Bruce. So we'd been out and we'd been on the lash. And there was 2 blokes in suits playing snooker. So Horse was winding me up, go and dive on the snooker table. No, I'm not doing that. So I've sprinted at Mottram Hall, threw myself onto this snooker table, grazed all myself, and these 2 blokes are playing snooker, gone into the balls, as you can imagine. Obviously, Alex Ferguson there, I don't know who's, he just shook his head as if to say, I don't even know to this day what Brucey said, but loads of different stories. I remember being in Czechoslovakia, jumping over a balcony to someone else's balcony about 14 floors up after we'd been out all night. Daft things like that, but most of the things that go on, is hijinks on lads. Yeah. You get 20-odd 18 to 30-year-old lads together and you're letting them have a beer, and things are going to happen, but 99% of the time it's all pretty good-natured, and it doesn't get out of hand. And actively, managers I played for used to encourage it. Not so much now, in fact hardly ever now, because of the media side of it.
But do you think they should, Dev? Should players be allowed to just let their hair down and be lads and do what they do naturally? Yeah, treat them like men.
If they're that way inclined, if you enjoy going out having a beer, you should be allowed to go out and have a beer. If you don't, that's fine too. At the end of the day, you're still a young man. You got a few quid in your pocket. You don't want to be cooped up in the house all the time. As long as it doesn't interfere with your training and your
Exactly,
playing
yeah.
and you're doing the business, I don't see what difference it makes.
No, I don't. I mean, if I was a manager, I'd allow my players to do
Yeah.
that. And then if they didn't perform on
And to
on
be-
the Saturday, right, you little bastard.
And to be honest, Gab, a lot of players won't even want to do that now anyway.
Yeah.
You know, there's probably players now lead that sort of lifestyle where they don't drink, they eat well, they're really fit. So a lot of players won't want to do it anyway. But like I say, you know, it's a cultural time where we did it. And when I first made my debut in '92, there was a big drinking culture in the game. Throughout all the clubs, you look at some of the lads that played for Arsenal and Man U and all that, and you read the books and you know that was the case. That's gradually got less and less as time's gone on. So you know they're as well behaved now as they've ever been players.
You ever fancied writing a book, Dev?
Yeah, but all the best stories I couldn't put down. I'd get lynched, wouldn't I? There'd be about 20 divorces. All my mates would be killing me.
Why don't you do a novel then? You know, so and no names.
Well,
you know, a
listen,
football book of sorts.
I ain't clever enough to disguise what the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Something that might have happened.
I'm telling you, all the best books from players that have played, you couldn't tell the best stories. You just couldn't, because too many people are getting into trouble. The one book I would walk on broken glass to read would be Billy Whitehurst's book, if he ever gets round to writing one. But no, I mean, there'd be some fantastic stories. And like I say, you know, when I'm out with the ex-players that I've played with down the years, we're sitting, we're talking, we have a brilliant laugh about them. And that's what I'm saying. I spoke to Chris Short, who I played with at Notts County and Sheffield. First time I spoke to him for 10, 12 years. And we had an hour on the phone talking about different games. And we got talking about Graham Potter as a manager. And I remember Chris Short nearly killing him in a tackle, a 50-50 tackle when Notts County beat Blues. And we were having a laugh. That's something that happened 20-odd years ago that we're talking about. And that's what... You know, going back to Berahino, who's he going to sit down and talk about all them old memories with now? In his big mansion, driving his 20 cars. But it's great. And, I loved every minute of it, but it's all about playing and the desire to play. Your career is soon over, as I know. And let me tell you, nothing ever compensates for not being a player. And, the Villa game and games like that, you don't realise, you can't let those games pass you by. You've got to give it everything you've got and put your bollocks on the line in those games. Because before you know it, you're sitting where I am and you can't play anymore.
Graham Potter, what's he like?
I don't know him. I just know him from playing against him. He seems to have done extremely well at that club he's at now.
Bleeding cold up there, isn't it?
It's nearly as cold in here, though, isn't it?
You reckons the icing's over?
I don't think he's put 50
There's a red light on it, but I don't think there's any coming out.
No heat coming out of it.
It's dodgeable, right?
No, but he's done well, and it's fair play to him. There's not many young English lads go abroad to manage, especially at somewhere as unfashionable, really, as is it Sweden, isn't it?
Sweden's up by the Arctic.
So he's done well. I mean, and you'd think with the profile he's created now, at some stage he's going to get a job back in England if he wants the job. So excited, good to see a young manager do that.
Now you talking about your coaching badges. If you wanted to be a referee, I'm sure that they'd fast track you.
No, they wouldn't.
Would they not?
No.
But do you not think that professional players that have played the game, should be fast-tracked into coaching? And so, because you can't do all that stuff that you need to because you're actually playing. So you also know the game.
I've talked about this in the past, and I've spoke to players that said they'd rather stick pins in their eyes than be a referee. Yeah. The referees at the top level now, fantastic lifestyle, fantastic wage. I know a lot of ex-players that would do that, but then they keep me to, you'd have to start on a kids' Sunday league thing. Now, I'm not saying straight away they should go in at top level because they've been an ex-player, but there must be some sort of common ground. You say, well, hang on a minute, you played the game for 10, 15 years. Once you do your training and you're assessed and you think you're ready, you can go in at A level. Doesn't have to be top level, whatever. Why start someone with all that experience on the very, very bottom run of the ladder? Now, people will turn around and say, well, we've had to do it. That's fair enough, but you've got to sometimes say, well, hang on a minute, they have got an experience in the game at a certain level. Exactly. That's got to give them some sort of, credit to go in.
15 years at a pro puts you in at a higher standing point.
Why, if you've done 15 years at anything, if you've been 15 years as a dentist or a doctor or a pilot, do you have to, then you go, it's hard to equate. It's a really hard thing to say, but your career's got to stand for something. I saw Sol Campbell interviewed on the telly the other day, and Jeff Astle was saying, well, you know, you've come across as arrogant and you're saying you're a great football brain. He denies saying that. He says, but you know, let's be honest, stellar career, Sol Campbell.
Yeah.
Stellar career. Now, why can't he turn around and say, well, I had 15 years and I was a top player? Because that's what he did.
Yeah, he did,
You can't deny the kid the fact that he was a top player.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a stick to boot. Oh, well, that's got nothing to do. Well, I'm afraid it has got something to do with being a manager. And they said to him, what's the difference between you being a manager and someone who's never played as being a manager? And he was quite diplomatic about what he said. You know, he didn't say anything controversial. But to me, looking and saying, well, he can tell someone what it's like in a match day scenario, in a game situation, where the player that's never played, the coach that's never played, can't do that.
No.
Now, you'll have people that disagree. Well, they can disagree all they want. If you've been a player, it helps. I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all, but it helps, and it gives you something that the coaches that have never been players will never have, and that's experience at that particular level. Don't misunderstand me. I'm still not saying it's the be-all and end-all, but it helps. When you get people say it doesn't matter whether they've played or not, load of rubbish.
So the thing is, if you and I were manager, I was a manager, you was my assistant for argument's sake, and then the forward would come in and say, Gaffer, got this problem with the centre half here. What do you reckon? What do you recommend? What's your advice? I'd be, fuck knows, don't ask me, go and ask Dev.
Yeah.
Dev's been where you are now. Dev's done it.
Yeah.
He's been there. He knows the answers. Me as a player, I played when I was a kid and that. I've never played at that level. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can tell you from my coaching manuals. Hold on, son. Let's get the book out. Look at page 28 and have a look at it.
Yeah.
This guy here, he's been there, and I think that's the difference between Sol Campbell and the player that hasn't. You know, when you get in the dressing room, first and foremostly, it'll be fucking Alex Sol Campbell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then it'll be like, who the fuck's he?
You get that. You get
that's
that
the
instant little bit of kudos and respect because you think, well, hang on, I'm going to listen to this kid because look what he's achieved.
Yeah.
I mean, people always reel off, well, Wenger and Mourinho were still pros.
Yeah.
They were still professional. All right, they never had stellar careers, but they were professional footballers.
Yeah.
It's really, really difficult to be a professional footballer in any country. Yeah. You've got to be really, really good. So, although they never had a career like Sol Campbell, they were still pros. And again, I keep reiterating it. I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all, but you get a lot of people, mainly people that have never played, say that it doesn't matter. When quite obviously,
I don't agree with that.
Quite obviously it does.
I mean, like, hold on, Chris. Just before while I'm on this, again, it's like, you know, Sol Campbell. He's played for England under X amount of managers. He's played for Arsene Wenger. He was in the Invincibles team. Yeah. That, for me, that you can't read that. You can't educate yourself. That is something that you've learnt because you've done it. And I think that once you've done stuff like that, you come in at a higher level than somebody that's starting at the bottom.
You know we'll get a job now and be crap, don't you?
They're going to fucking unemployed in. Go on, who's on the bell?
Before we wrap up...
we ain't wrapping up, we're going on for another hour.
Are we allowed to talk about the story from St Anne's on Chelmsley, says Martin? No. Okay, there we go. Let's move straight on then. And tell Martin I do know what he's on about there, and it's definitely no.
But it might be in the book. Anything else? What else we got, Chris? 'Cause we have got to go in a bit. We've got to wrap it up.
There's about... I think I've missed about 70 odd. So, okay, I'll start off with this one. That's all fans ask for. Going back to Blues, is passion and giving 100%. At the present time, we haven't got that every game. Same at management level at the Blues. Problem is, all we can see is their body language. Ex interviews by Cottrell cannot look you in the eye. You have noticed that he can't.
Well, I just think I think he's pretty clueless.
Yeah.
I think he talks in riddles, and he like Lee Clark always used to look at his shoes. I think when you've got no answers, you have this kind of where you stutter around. You have a bit of a nervous disposition. I mean,
a lot of people are keen on Potter as well. But I can't.
I think it's one of them. He's done really well where he's been, but would he be able to do it in the Premier League or in the Championship? I don't know. It's one of them. In it, we can. Where'd you come in at?
Listen, he's done fantastically well there. I think that if we were going for that type, I think there's better candidates already managing in this country.
Me too.
And that's not to say that somewhere down the line he wouldn't be, or he's not going to be a great manager. I just think at times what we all do. Flavour of the month will come along. Oh, get him. Alouzio's
Yeah.
managing Senegal. Get him. Potter's managing us. Get him.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking, well, hang on a minute. Let's have a little look. What's already about that
Yeah.
real, and we've got to be realistic about who's going to come.
Look at managers that have done it at a couple of clubs that know what the British game's all about. Have a look at them. Recruit them kind of managers.
Well, I mean, listen.
It's like buying players from World Cups. We bought Cece from the World Cup. Never buy a player who's had a bloody good World Cup or a good European tournament, because when they're playing there for the country with some great players, you buy them, you stick them in your team, and you go, do you know what? He looks shite.
Yeah.
And that's what they've pretty done with them, don't they?
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
you watched. We'll probably get to the World Cup and get in the team of the championship or something. You know what I mean? But I mean, we're talking about managers here as if Cottrell's gone. You know, Steve Cottrell's still here at the moment,
he
so
is,
he's got to, he's got to turn it round.
would you say go or stay, finally?
Well,
I mean, I'd go. I'd say go, personally.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen, I think there's massive arguments for and against. Yeah, I'd probably say go if I knew we were going to get in.
I'd say go and bring in Dean Smith.
But
That's what my
he's
shout.
not going to come.
No.
Why is he going to leave Brentford and come to Blues at this moment in time? That's why I'm saying it's pointless getting rid of Cottrell now.
Yeah.
If you haven't got someone.
Oh, you need
better
you need the manager lined up.
It's no use getting rid of him now and thinking, oh, should we ask Harry back? Because to me, I never wanted Harry anywhere near the club. Because I knew it'd end up like the way it did.
But again, that was it was funny, Dev, the way that ended, because Cottrell was the coach there, Harry was the manager, then Cottrell leaves, Harry's the manager, then he gets the sack, having just 3 or 4 games after the window shut, with players that he bought in. The whole lot just seemed mad. It was a little bit like with Lee Clark when Terry McDermott left. These managerial teams tend to stay together for like years and years, don't they? They were, wherever you go, you take the same baggage with you. Managers don't, and coaches don't divorce like that. We've had 2 managers like that, and when that happens, it shocks me a bit.
I think if you'd have asked, right, if you'd have lined up 50 ex-pros between the age of 40 and 50 and asked them, right, Harry's going to get the job, describe the scenario, I think every one of them would have said exactly how it panned out. Every one of them. Because you talk, it's known, you know, it's known things that people talk in the game.
It's Harry, innit?
Now, again, we got carried away because he won the last 2. Give Harry the job, throw a load of money. Harry brings in a lot of players. They all love him because he gives them mega contracts.
Yeah.
He takes a lot of money himself. He goes and he leaves the club. He goes a bit richer. The club go a bit poorer. That's what Harry... And I'm not saying Harry hasn't been a great man or a good manager down the years, but it was never a fit for me.
No.
He lives in Sandbanks.
Yeah, he does,
He's a Cockney. He lives
Yeah,
down... He ain't never moving from Sandbanks up to Birmingham.
No.
You know, how often was he here? How often was he on that training ground? But again, most people got carried away because we won 2 games and we stopped up, give him the job. I never wanted him to have the job because, and like I say, people in the game that know the game would have read how that was going to pan out. Now, to me, it looked from the outside looking in when Cottrell come with him the end of last season and they stayed up. I think Cottrell probably thought he was going to get the manager's job for the start of this season. Now, for whatever reason, and we know the reason because the club threw a lot of money at Harry to take the job. Harry took the job. Now, I don't know. That's me. I'm not privy to that. But from the outside looking in, I would say that might have been a factor of why they parted.
But again, I think sometimes you're better off as a coach than a manager, ain't you? And I think Cottrell probably is a better coach than he is a manager. But like at Redknapp's last club, QPR, I mean, he left QPR when he had to have a knee operation, keyhole surgery to his knee. I mean, do me a favour.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we can rant on and talk on about Redknapp, Zola, you know. Steve Cottrell's in charge now, and the team are where they are, and they've got to get us out of it.
Middlesbrough, will you be up there doing your ambassador job?
No, not for Middlesbrough. It's just the home games I do. So I don't.
It is Middlesbrough at home.
Oh, sorry.
It's Forest away, Middlesbrough at home, then Cardiff. Tuesday night.
I don't know if I'm there because it's me and Ian Clarkson. What we do, we dovetail it. So Clarky will do one and I do one.
Do you go all around the ground?
We do about 3 or 4 hospitality lounges over the Cop side, and then we finish off in the Captain's Club, and we go on the International Lounge. So we do sort of 4, 5, 6.
I'm up there.
Have you? Whereabouts?
Yeah, Adana, one of his clients, and they've got a box, I believe, over the Gilmerick.
Oh, right.
No,
we don't go there. We don't Don't
ever go there.
Yeah, so I should be up there having something to eat, watching the Middlesbrough game.
Oh, great. Let's hope you see
With a pillar.
Let's hope you see a few goals.
Right, okay then, Chris, anything before we
Just
wrap
quickly,
it up?
and the general consensus is that if you did write a book, it would be a bestseller.
Well, I dare say it would, but there'd be... I'd probably get assassinated if I wrote a book within about 6 months.
Be like our Q&A that we done at the Con Club, won't it?
Yeah.
Cheers, thanks for listening, watching. Good night, good afternoon, and God bless.
Wanna be the one you can call on, baby.